Hi everybody, I'd like to take a moment to do a little bit of the halachas of a Sefer Torah and if a mistake is found in a Sefer Torah. Just this last Shabbos, we had an episode in one of the Minyanim where a mistake was found in the Sefer Torah. What does one do in that situation? How does this work? It's complex, so just let's take a moment to appreciate this. First of all, let's take a look over here and come and look in the Sefer Torah itself and see the area that the mistake was made. Here we go. If we're looking at the actual place itself, we'll zoom in. Can you notice the mistake over here? Do you notice that anything is over here the problem? Well, let's zoom in a little bit over there. You see that word vinosata? Well, the second taf in it is, in fact, it's smudged so that the area in the center is smudged over and is covered. Right? So we notice that Sefer Torah is, in fact, that is something which puzzles the Sefer Torah. We thank our Baal Koreh for noticing that particular mistake, which is found in the middle of an aliyah. I do want to make the point that not every mistake that is found is in fact a mistake which puzzles the Sefer Torah. So let me, as an example, if we go downstairs for a moment, let's take a look at another one. So sometimes the mistake which is found actually is not something which invalidates it. So this happened actually a week ago in Parshas Pinchas in our Torah, where a Baal Koreh during the weekday said, there's something that seems to be wrong with the Sefer Torah. Take a look with me and let's look inside the Sefer Torah. If you look over here, you will notice, take a look at the actual text itself. Can you see the mistake in the first paragraph? Now, truth be told, this is a very hard mistake to see, and the reason is because this is a mistake of omission. There's actually something which looks fine, but it isn't fine. And that is, do you see that in the word nasati lo brisi shalom, the word shalom, the vav is a normal vav. You say, well, that looks right, yes. But it's actually supposed to be what's called a vav ketua, a kat vav. And the reason is, as the Mefarshim explain, is that there was something lacking in the piece that Pinchas created by killing Zimri because it was an act of violence. And therefore it's expressed in the fact that vav is specifically cut. Not so easy to notice because you would expect it to look regular, like a regular vav. In this particular case, this mistake, which it should be a vav ketua, a kat vav, is a mistake which does not invalidate a Sefer Torah, which means to say one would really is allowed to read from a Sefer Torah, but one should in fact correct that Sefer Torah, one should fix it, but it does not invalidate the Sefer Torah reading, even lecharchila. This is something which is worthwhile knowing, the differences between different types of mistakes. This all happened in the span of 2 weeks. Okay, so let's assume now there is a mistake in the Torah which invalidates a Sefer Torah and it's found in the laning. What do we do? For this, we need a little bit of background. This takes us to the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Mem Gimel 143 in Orach Chaim. And these are the halachos that a rabbi needs to know on one foot because these kind of things happen in the spur of a moment and one really needs to know what to do. So here's the background. Most poskim say that if you have a Torah which is deficient of a letter, there's something which is incorrect, that Torah may not be used. However, there is a minority view in the poskim that although for the writing of a Sefer Torah, the mitzvah writing a Sefer Torah needs to be absolutely perfect, for reading it, where one's allowed to read it if there's a minor deformity. We do not paskin like that, but we use that minority opinion in a b'diavad situation. What does that mean? Lecharchila, if I'm going to the Aron and I'm taking out a Torah, I'm not allowed to take out a Torah and read from it if I know that it has some problem with it. However, if I take it out thinking it's fine and I read from it, that reading was yotze. I was yotze in that, which is, by the way, makes a lot of sense because sometimes when you have a Sefer Torah which has a mistake in it, we've been reading in what really is a Sefer Torah psula for many, many weeks. But that reading, b'di'evet, in the retrospect, is in fact all right. The question becomes is, where do you draw the line in retrospect and do you make a bracha? Let's explore two opinions which express themselves in halacha. The first is that of the Mari Beirav, and he says, it is true that you're yotze, you fulfill the mitzvah of that which was b'di'evet, that which I already did. When does that stop? When's that moment that differentiates between lecharchila and b'di'evet? So he says, if, let's say, a mistake is found in the middle of the Kriyas Torah, and at that point in time, we realize there's a mistake, I'm not allowed to say a bracha achrona. The person who gets the aliyah may not say the ending bracha on the Torah because that's already lecharchila. He is saying a bracha a priori on knowing it's a possible Sefer Torah. So what happens is everybody keeps quiet. They check with the rabbi in silence as to what's going on. If it is in fact invalidated, the Torah is wrapped up, and usually what we do is we put the gartel on the outside to indicate that the Torah is psula. It's put back in silence. A new Torah is brought back, rolled to that point if it needs to rolling, and continues from that pasuk onwards, because the reading up till now was fine, but you cannot say a bracha on what was read. You would need to say all the new psukim, the end bracha in the new Sefer Torah. That would be the way the Mari Beirav explains it. However, the Mordechai disagrees. The Mordechai is an earlier commentator from Ashkenaz, from Germany, and he makes the observation that b'di'evad means that I am still allowed to say a bracha afterwards. Meaning to say, if I'm in the middle of an aliyah and I find a mistake, I can say a bracha because the bracha goes back on what was done. What was done was accomplished. That was already b'di'evad. That's included in the b'di'evad. That's what the Mordechai would say. And even so, says the Mordechai, let's say I'm in a place where I cannot stop laning. So for instance, I've not yet read 3 psukim, or I'm within 2 psukim of the end of a paragraph where I can't stop for an aliyah. Says the Mordechai, you can still read to the end of the aliyah, you can still read another pasuk to make sure you got 3 psukim, then say the bracha and put it away. Because b'di'evad, I have to do what's b'di'evad, and then I can say the bracha. How do we paskin? So Ashkenazim paskin as a in-between, between the Mari Be'rav and the Mordechai. Remember, the Mari Be'rav says, my laning counted, but I can't say a bracha on laning, which was on a Sefer Torah. Now that I know that, the Mordechai says you can say a bracha, and even if you need to go a little further to make sure the aliyah is finished, you do say a bracha. What do? We do the following. If we're in the middle of a paragraph, if we're in a situation where you can stop, you get to the end of the pasuk, you say a bracha, like the Mordechai, close the Sefer Torah. If you're in a position where you cannot stop, so for instance, you're within 2 psukim of the end of a paragraph, or you've not yet read 3 psukim, at that point in time we pass like the Mari Be'rav. In silence, we close out the Torah, take out the new one, carry on reading, and then there's a bracha after the 2 Sifrei Torah reading. So a few different points over here to appreciate the triage. First thing, is it a psul which really invalidates? Is it actually a psul, or is it something which is lying on top of the letter, which is perhaps just masking it? That's point number 1. Number 2 is, where are we? Are we in the middle of the aliyah? Are we close to the beginning and the end? And that'll define as to whether there is a bracha which is said after the laning in the Torah which needed the correction as well. Just to understand some of the basics that need to go through a person's mind when attempting to deal with this as well. An opportunity, a learning opportunity in our community, if this happens to us, to be able to learn a little more, to appreciate the nuances and the specificity, the preciseness of the Torah lifestyle. We called in the Sefer to deal with these particular issues, and Rabbi Lieberman came in to fix them and address them. The Vav Ketia, the cut Vav, was rather easy to address. The tough, which had been smudged, we saw was actually a function of the fact that it must have been a previous Baal Korah in previous years who may have been spitting a little bit when they were laning, and it must have been a drop of saliva which had landed and smudged the letters, and that was more complicated to fix because it required actually removing the legs of the tuft to invalidate the tuft and then redraw the legs, because you can't just scratch out the middle, because otherwise the letter is formed what's called tasev eluna'asoi automatically rather than in steps and stages to be completed as a correct letter as well. So the Sefer completed these, and the Torahs are now usable and ready to be used for future. Two very important lessons to be learned from here. Number 1 is the incredible precision of halacha. This is not something we make up. This is not something that it's hazy around the edges. We know specifically and precisely what to do in given situations. But number 2 is there's another important lesson. That is the value and importance of volunteers. I want to take a moment really to thank our team who spend their time, the volunteers who come out to ensure that our Sifrei Torah are rolled. We have Sifrei Torah which are rolling between each Sefer for each special event like a Rosh Chodesh or a Tanis. And these people, led by Yosef Gorovich and a group of incredible people, come and roll those Torahs all the time for us. And a special thank you to our Baalei Kriya who volunteer their time to lane at our shul. Thank you for Dr. Siklik for picking up a mistake in Parshas Pinchas, and to Dr. Huberfeld for picking up a mistake in Parshas Matos. These are the unsung heroes of our shul, the people, the volunteers behind the scene who make our lives better because they care. Have a wonderful